The Canadian Snowbird Association calls itself the voice of traveling Canadians, and it is. It represents more than 80,000 Canadian seniors who spend at least part of the year away from home. The association's official insurer is Medipac Travel Insurance. After 16 years of working with the Canadian Snowbird Association, Medipac has learned about the travel habits of its members. Medipac's Vice President Christopher Bradbury says that baby boomers will change snowbird travel patterns, at least at first.
We expect that there will be a more adventurous set of winter travelers at the beginning as people begin to age and go into their retirement or semi-retirement years, that they'll start to do some exploring and maybe see some things that they haven't had the time to enjoy in the past. What we do expect in the long term, and this has a lot to do with just looking at the past statistics and using those to identify what will likely happen in the future, is once some people do some exploring and try a couple of different things on for size, they're probably going to start going back to the typical snowbird lifestyle, which is going to a familiar place repeatedly, because the comforts of home are stable. They know where to get what they want. They're not in a strange culture. They're not faced with strange customs and strange laws. People speak the same language, and they more or less know what they're doing and who they're doing it with, and so they feel a level of safety and stability there.
Regardless of how comfortable Canadian snowbirds may be at their home away from home, it's still not Canada. Chris explains how the Canadian medical system compares.
We're growing up in developing our sense of what's important and our sense of priorities in a wonderful country in Canada, where we have a socialized medical system, where medicine isn't something that we actually think about in a dollars and cents kind of basis. It's something that we don't necessarily take for granted, but we expect to have it there. When you enter into different economies and different societies around the world, it's not until you get there that you start to realize that you're not in Kansas anymore. You end up in the United States, where it's a profit-based medical system, not a socialized medical system where it's supposed to be fair distribution to everybody, but in a profit-based system where you actually have to pay to get service. And if you don't have the ability to pay, then you move down the ladder of opportunity, and it can be very scary for somebody to deal with on the first time. Once you enter into that kind of a surrounding, then you can compound that problem with the fact that you're dealing with it when either you yourself are sick or dealing with an injury, or you're the person who's dealing with a sick relative or an injured relative, which can be even more emotionally more emotionally difficult for a person to deal with when they're trying to get the best care that they can for somebody else. So, saying that, we're used to having our health cards that are issued by our government and let us go see the doctor, and as far as anybody has ever dealt with it here in Ontario, at least I know, if you don't have your health card, you have to pay $35 to see your doctor, and then you'll get that back when you come back and show them your health card. Not a very complicated issue. That's about the most that most people in Canada have had to deal with not having medical insurance protection. When you leave the country, things can be very different very quickly. And maybe you'll get the service and the treatment that you need at the beginning, but then once that treatment's completed, they come in with the paperwork to show you how much it cost. And it's not unlike handing your keys to the car over to a mechanic and just saying, fix it, and he'll tell you how much it'll cost later.